The following is a presentation of the High Spot Podcast. Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the trendsetter Brian Perga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
What is going on, guys? We are finally back. You are listening to the High Spot Podcast. HSP is back. And I'm here with my tag team partner, the trendsetter, Brian Berga. I am Jeff Martin. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. That hasn't changed. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Be a part of High Spot Podcast HSP, the relaunch show today, man. Trendsetter, it's good to be back. It really feels like we're back home.
To quote someone famous, Jeff, be careful what you wish for because now you have it. Now you have the High Spot Podcast back. The Jersey Wrecking Crew back to where it all started again. Yes, that's my Canadian accent, guys. I'm sorry. I try to, break that accent in, but I can't, it's part of me. But no, this show's a part of me. You guys, the crew, have been a part of us for the longest amount of time right now. It's great to be back on. We took a hiatus, but at the same time, had to relaunch a couple things, had to as Jeff mentioned before, had to, reevaluate certain things of where we want to take the direction of the show. And you guys will learn in the next couple weeks as the months go by where the direction of the High Spot Podcast is going. Really excited to be on it, though.
Yeah, man. Like the trendsetter said, follow us the next few weeks, and you'll find out where we're taking this show. Definitely going to get really fun here. And we just want to entertain you guys. We want to make this off the cuff and entertaining for you. You hear all these other wrestling shows, and they're critiquing wrestling, they're dissecting matches, they're just talking wrestling, and we want to, bring some entertainment, want to bring some fun, want to make this a show that you guys want to like and subscribe and download and do all those things because this is going to be your show, and we're definitely going to be as creative as possible. Not as creative like WWE creative or other kind of shows, but we're definitely going to try to, get a feel of what the fans want here on HSP here as we relaunch on the show. We got a great guest in the Big Deal, Craig Steele. We met him at WrestlePro a long time ago, man, and he's so entertaining, and we're going to get into so many things with him, and the reason I wanted to bring him along was because he is one of the guys behind Taboo Men's Club and one of the
in Linden, New
Jersey. And one of the topics that I want to talk to the trendsetter about is, as we talk about entertainment, is this whole restart of the NBA. Sports is back, trendsetter. I mean, WWE, AEW, all the wrestling promotions that have been able to stay open have entertained us a lot. But now, when we talk about professional sports, we talk about the major four. We have the MLB back. We have NHL that's going to be back. We have the NBA, and we have so all the sports, man. We got all the sports, and the biggest story is here about is the COVID trendsetter. And I got to tell you, man, it was tough to sit down here with everything going on in the world here, trying to put on a show. And I believe that it was a funk. Let's just be honest. It was a funk, and we got out of it. We came back to do WrestleMania show, which was fun, but we had to like take a step back and
it's bittersweet, basically.
Yeah, we had to take a step back and be like, let's be creative. We cannot do a WrestleMania show, but amidst this whole COVID stuff and life trying to get back to normal here, at least on the East Coast, we're like, you know what, let's come back here. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the fans, we owe it to bodyslam.net, and we owe it to our new one of our new platforms, the unofficial WWE podcast, where we do AEW and SmackDown reviews for them. So we're like, it's time that we relaunch here, trying to find out how we can get more interactive with the fans and, do maybe some YouTube live stuff, maybe some video for you guys. I know you guys love the interviews that we do on the website. So, it's time to, get into the future. And it's not about audio, man. It's about visual. So that's what we're going to be doing the next few weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, well, to be honest, too, when we're doing the whole WrestleMania scenario, Jeff and I had already planned what we wanted to do. We were planning, scenarios of going to WrestleCon, of doing the Bullet Club block party in Tampa.
That one hurt.
That one hurt. Doing all these types of things to get content to be able to put on our website and / YouTube channel. And guys, make sure you check that out. Also, give us a like, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. hit that notification bell too as new episodes and new things start getting uploaded on that YouTube channel. But yeah, it was just bittersweet because we were breaking down WrestleMania card. We had already mentally established ourselves to be there. Then all of this happened. I don't think anybody expected it to last as long as it's been lasting so far. I mean, it's still continuing. So yeah, it was really tough to start breaking down wrestling because although all the sports and everything was off and wrestling was still there, it was starting to get difficult to watch it, though, because, not just the mere fact that, there's no audience there, not for the fact, too, that, talent is limited because they don't have all their talent there because they're choosing to stay home because they want to risk getting infected with COVID, understandably. It just started getting frustrating. And it was really difficult for me, at least. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for Jeff. To get in there and every week talk about something that I honestly wasn't enjoying watching either.
Yeah, that passion was kind of, it just went away, which is crazy to say, right? But now we're back, recharged our batteries, got that energy back, got that focus, and looking forward to it, man. And like we were talking about the sports starting, and there's so much going on, but everyone's worried about this COVID stuff, and wash your hands, and there's a bubble now, and you got to follow protocol. And one of the things that we were talking about is that was really funny to me, but at the end it's not. Is that Lou Williams, who was who's a player for the Clippers, 6th Man of the Year, very very key player to them, had to leave the NBA bubble in Orlando in Disney for a few days for a personal matter, and then this whole thing blew up because he stopped by Magic City in Atlanta. It was a strip club, and he got chicken wings, and so we were like, oh, so what? He went to grab a bite to eat, but still, he didn't. He kind of broke protocol there, and now he had to be quarantined for 10 days. He's not going to play in the first opening games for the Clippers, and there's all this thing about proper protocol, and that's why Craig Steele is going to join us here and talk about a little bit about chicken wings and whether Craig Steele, whether Lou Williams really did do something really major that we can't forgive him for. But all that stuff going on, Chester. What did you think when you heard this? It was so crazy, man.
Just shaking my head, though, because, to me it's more the frustration because, things are put in place. There are regulations, there are rules, protocols, like you said, too. And for people not following them, and again, you have to see both sides of it, I guess. You had a personal matter, you had to leave and come back, but at the same time, you always want to put your best foot forward because at the end of the day, a lot of people say, oh, these guys are making so much money, it's not necessarily a big deal, it's not that big of an issue, but at the same time, you're still getting paid to do a job. And so if you're not following the rules of doing your job, then I feel it's kind of not an insult, but it's kind of sending the wrong message to everybody else because if you get one person doing it, it's going to trickle down and everybody else is going to start going to figure out, hey, how can I get away with this? How can I do it? Because when you're isolated as much as these players are going to be, whether it's Major League Baseball or basketball in this sense, so they're in a bubble per se in Disney, it's going to be a scenario where they're going to get tired of each other. They want to get out and have an interaction with the world. But at the end of the day, it's your job, and you have to do it. And so you want, for the NBA, wants this right example being sent. So something like this, although necessarily not a huge deal because they're able to, he's isolating himself and he didn't get anybody infected, just sends the wrong message when you're trying to continue a league with millions and billions of dollars on the line and you're trying to continue it as safe as possible.
Yeah, and that's why this interview is going to be fun with Craig Steele because he definitely knows about strip clubs and he's got supposedly
they're called gentlemen's clubs.
Gentlemen's clubs.
Get it right.
And so, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about chicken wings. We'll talk about Russell Pro. We'll talk about him coming back to the ring sooner than later, and his whole, how he dealt with COVID. So Craig Steele joins us right now on the High Spot Podcast, the relaunch HSP. All right, Trendsetter, man. Such a great episode of the High Spot Podcast relaunching today. So glad everyone is back on board here. And I'm so glad to bring in our next guest, man. We met him at WrestlePro. Stands out. Definitely when you go, he'll give you a tremendous show. And definitely glad to have him here as our guest on the High Spot Podcast. He is the big deal, Craig Steele. What's going on, man? How you doing, first and foremost?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm good. Everything is good in big deal land. No complaints.
So, we're relaunching the show this week, and we've had that little, I guess that COVID funk. You know what I mean? Like we're like, should we go on? Is it right to do a podcast now? With everything going on, but we decided to relaunch again because we love what we do. And I want to ask you, how's it been for you, especially being a wrestler and with all this, extra time now that you have to, do other things? How's it been for you?
It's been hard. Today, this afternoon, I went up to a wrestling school I haven't been to in a long time, and it's the first time I was in a ring since March. So for me, that's the longest layoff I've had in probably about 9 years.
And so like here, so we were talking here beforehand, and we were talking about, of course, this week with the whole sports coming back, which is a great thing. I know you're a huge Saints fan, and hopefully we get the NFL season, kicked off on time. But with all this time off, the NBA has started this week, and there's been this whole Lou Williams situation about going to get wings at Magic City in Atlanta. And I was like, who I got to get on? I got to get on Craig Steele, because not only are you a very entertaining wrestler, but you also, are in the Gentlemen's Club business. So I got to ask you, because you're a huge sports fan, would it be worth risking everything for Magic City Wings?
Well, I can't speak for Magic City, but the wings at Taboo Men's Club are pretty good. So I don't think you're risking everything at this point. COVID's a rough situation. In New Jersey, it was terrible. The numbers went down a little bit. We're starting to get a little bit of that groove back. We're open at the club, but we're only open for outdoor dining and outdoor drinking. So it's a completely different situation. It's not like it used to be, girls dancing on stage, lap dances and all that. It's basically bartenders serving the customers at tables, girls hanging out with the customers, eating and drinking. That's about where we're at. But Magic City has, they have a reputation for having very good chicken wings. And if Lou Williams is comfortable there, and that's his, that might be his comfort zone, is going there and having some wings. Think about it, guys. You're locked in a bubble where, even though it's an extraordinary bubble of like Disney World and all fun stuff, but he needs to get out there and have a little bit of adult entertainment, and they don't have that in that Disney bubble. So, I'm not going to hate on the guy. He's taking his medicine. He's getting his little 10-day quarantine. They haven't had one positive test in the last few days in the NBA, so I think they're doing the right thing. I think it'll be all right in the long run.
Yeah, well, of course, Greg would agree with that. I mean, but let's be honest, though, man. You're getting paid a good amount of money to follow the rules of necessarily being a bubble. I get your point, Craig, and I get the point of Jeff, too. It's like it's isolation. You're miserable. You want some type of reality of the outside world. But let's be honest. You're getting paid good money in the NBA to be part of this team and to follow these rules. And the season's almost the season's almost over. We're going to playoff mode. I mean, is it? You just answered. Is it worth taking the risk? But I think it's kind of selfish if you ask me.
Yeah, everybody's selfish. Is it selfish for some? Think about it this way: is it selfish for these guys to leave their families to go play basketball when they should be at home taking care of their families? They don't have to be playing basketball. These guys are loaded. They've been making millions and millions of dollars. Lou Williams has been in the league over 10 years. Highest paid sixth man in the league. You don't think he he doesn't understand the situation? He wanted to go out and have some wings. The only thing they're telling you is about him being at Magic City, but you don't know what he was at, if maybe he had to go deal with a personal situation, if he had to deal with some family matter, and then he just so happened to be in Atlanta, so he stopped in. I'm guessing that's what happened more than anything. He didn't leave the bubble just to go to Magic City. There's no way.
Oh yeah, no, it was a personal matter, and then ATL was on the way, so why not get some wings? Because everyone raves about them, and a lot of people are kind of taking his side. Especially when you see the pictures of the wings, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty tempting not to go over there and get some. And of course, the gifs and the memes are about Lou Williams, and all the jokes about just chicken wings. You thought maybe he'd go there for breasts or thighs or something like that, But asking you personally here, Craig, how is this COVID going to affect the strip club business going forward? Because a lot of things in this world aren't going to be the same. And, the guys, especially, strip clubs and stuff like that. So how do you think going forward is going to change that?
There's one thing that I can guarantee you in this world is guys are horny, all right? Once the governor of New Jersey and the governors of the other states of the union decide to open up indoors and have indoor dining, indoor partying, or whatever it is, we might have some social distancing. We might have some separation of customers. You might have some girls dancing with masks, but there's no question in my mind. There's no doubt that once we're open inside and girls are dancing on stage, there's going to be guys at that bar. It's just the way life is.
No, of course, that's just going to be the way life is. I mean, you just said it yourself, too, in terms of price and social distancing. Some might be dancing with masks on, things of that nature. But, what more can be done in the scenario that requires more close-to-close one-on-one contact in terms of you're in a club in that area, people are going to be filling up that facility? Is it more limiting the amount of people that are in the building? Is that kind of one of the main things that you're concerned about when things start to reopen?
You're not going to see 100% capacity buildings for a long time. I'm guessing until at least next year before you're going to see that. What'll probably end up happening is he'll open up the buildings for 25% capacity for a month or two, see how it works out if we don't have any spikes. And then after that, they'll open it up for 50% capacity and then 75% capacity, and then it'll be full go. The keys to that is you can't be served unless you're seated. That's a big way to guarantee that you'll maintain your social distancing. So you'll get if a customer's in the building, he's got to wear his mask when he's standing up. He's got to wear his mask to go to the restroom. He's got to wear his mask to go to the ATM. If he's sitting down in his spot, he can take his mask off. But once he gets up, he's going to be required to wear it. And then he'll be required to not be able to have any alcohol once you're standing up without a mask. Once you're standing up, nothing. You can't have alcohol. You can't have food. The employees, the dancers, everybody will be wearing a mask, for, as long as they require that we wear a mask. It's going to be a different situation that we're going to have to deal with, but it's the world we're living in right now. And, until this virus gets under control and we can get back to, our thought of normalcy, we're just going to have to deal with it and do the best we can to stay healthy.
Trendsetter, come on, use your imagination. 25% seating capacity, maybe some hand sanitizing stations near the VIP room. You know what I mean? It'll work. It's like you're guaranteed death, taxes, and strip clubs are being open, man. Because
they're gonna say you're guaranteed men being horny too. So that's absolutely one of them as well.
That's definitely a certain there. Craig, man, listen. So. You haven't been in a wrestling ring, you said, since like March till you got one in this week or this past month or so. How's it been? The wrestling business, do you think has really suffered a lot, especially in the independent scene? I know you. Are you still working for WrestlePro?
Yeah, I'm still with WrestlePro. I'll be going to Alaska in September for a couple of shows. They have a show coming up in August. It's going to be their first show back in Union. I don't think I'm a part of that show. I'm not sure, but it's going to be different. It's warm weather. You're not going to be allowed to do indoor shows, obviously, in New York or New Jersey for the time being, but you're going to kind of, roll with the punches and, try to bring as much energy and positivity to the fans, as you can. It's a hard situation, but, you're going to see a lot of companies, I'm sure, that are going to go away. A lot of businesses are going to go away. A lot of bars and restaurants are going to go away. Gyms are going to go away, because they're going to not have the capabilities to keep going. But WrestlePro is resilient. A couple of the other places I work for are very resilient, and I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be successful going forward and give the fans the proper entertainment that they deserve.
Craig, you're a showman. You're a showman, and you definitely, get the crowd hopping, and it's gonna be weird without fans there. There's gonna be about, I think, like 150 is the max that they can have in Union for that show for WrestlePro. And how do you think the other companies, the bigger companies, have done without the fans? Like, you got wrestlers, on the side there cheering them on and being kind of like the fans and stuff like that. How do you think the bigger companies have dealt with this?
I think they're doing as good as can be expected. I think, I appreciate the fact that they're keeping going and they're bringing entertainment to people sitting at home. There's not a lot going on right now. We finally got baseball back. We finally got basketball back. Hopefully, not good, we get a full football season. But wrestling during COVID is one of the only things that you've had every single week. And, no matter what you think, if it's not as entertaining without fans, or, it's a different situation. They're doing the best they can, and I think they're doing a great job. You know, it's different, but it's going to be different. It's going to evolve. It's going to keep getting, you know, more. The entertainment factor is going to keep going forward, and they're going to keep, you know, changing it up as they go. You know, eventually there's going to be fans at shows. We know that. Eventually we're going to have arenas, you know, rocking and rolling like we've always had, you know, but you can't rush it, and you got to just, you know, use your brain and make sure everybody's healthy, make sure your staff is healthy, make sure your performers are healthy, make sure your fans are healthy. So I think they've done a great job by that. You don't see too many, you know, huge outbreaks or, you know, people are getting it. It is what it is. It's a difficult situation. You're gonna see people get COVID, but everybody's doing the best job they can. You know, I think all the companies are doing great, and it's exciting to watch. You know, you got wrestling every night almost to watch, and it hasn't gone away, and I don't see it going away.
No, you're right. I don't see it going away either, Craig. And, you know, to that point, though, you said you got a couple shows coming up for WrestlePro. Union going to Alaska, too, with the whole traveling thing. And traveling has changed as well from what we know what it used to be in terms of normal. So, in your sense, you said you've gone back in the ring trying to get, you know, the kinks out in terms of, you know, getting the timing down and getting the conditioning that it takes to actually perform. A lot of people mistake and think, oh, you could just jump on a treadmill, run a couple miles, different type of conditioning. But for you, do you feel that you'll be ready 100% to go when the time comes for bell time to ring for yourself? And secondly, you said before, you know, there's going to be a new sense of normal to the point where, you know, there are going to be people still going to get it, are still going to get COVID. You know, you try to manage it more than anything. Do you have any reservations or, you know, concerns of yourself possibly not putting a negative light on it, but in terms of getting it, but putting that risk, the fact that when you put yourself out there, you run the risk higher that the possibility of you obtaining it gets greater?
You know, it is what it is. I'm going to do the best thing I can to keep myself healthy for myself and my family. I wear my mask when I'm in public. I use hand sanitizer. Wash your hands. You know, keep yourself clean. Don't touch your eyes. All those important things that you have to do to make sure you maintain cleanliness and try to keep the virus at bay. You know, if everybody washed their hands and wore masks, you know, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but we'd be in a lot better place right now than we are. As far as wrestling shape is completely different than being in shape. You know, once you get in that ring and you're running those ropes and you're taking those bumps, you know, it's a completely different situation than it ever is as far as running a treadmill or jogging at home or any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, the reps are all you need. I think the more reps you get, the better you'll be. I'm a gamer, I think. So, you know, once those lights go on and my music hits, I'm going to be out there and I'm going to do my thing like I always do. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, I'm getting in better shape than I've been in a long time, you know, with this downtime. And I think, you know, when you see the Big Deal Craig Steele out there, you're going to see a great version of the Big Deal Craig Steele. And I'm going to put on a show. Everybody's going to be smiling in that crowd, and I'm going to make sure that, you know, I entertain the way I always do.
Hey, Craig, is this your first time going to Alaska, or have you done other WrestlePro shows there?
I did the first WrestlePro show in Alaska last year.
Cool.
It's a cool place. Yeah.
So this is my question to you: what is the biggest misconception that I've never been to Alaska, and other people that, you know, joke about, you know, Alaska, like, oh, it's dark all the time, it's cold, it snows. What is the biggest misconception you think we have of Alaska that if we went there, we'd be like, oh, crap, it's actually a cool place?
It's, you know, they have big cities in Alaska. It's not just like, you don't go there and see igloos and, like, people driving, like, dog sleds and all that stuff. It's big cities, you know, a lot of people that love sports, a lot of people that love wrestling, a lot of people that love to have a great time. It's an awesome place. If you haven't been there, or you have an opportunity to go there, I always implore you to go because, you know, it's a different world, but it's a great place to be.
And so, what's the sport teams over there? Like, what you know? Because, like, if you're anywhere like in like Boston or Rhode Island or Delaware, well, you know, you see like it's Boston fans, right? Like, what's their team over there? What do you see them rooting for the most? What football teams? What NBA teams? What's the teams over there?
To be honest, I don't know. I see them, they have like colleges there and they have minor league sports. They obviously don't have any major league sports, but I didn't have any conversations with anybody over whether or not, if they were like Minnesota Viking fans or Seattle Seahawks. I would guess maybe like Pacific Northwest teams, but I'm sure just like any place that doesn't have a major league in their city, they root for, whoever they attract to. I'm a Saints fan and I live in New Jersey, so.
How did that happen, by the way? How did you become a Saints fan?
I've been a Saints fan since I was a little kid. My mother is from Louisiana, so
okay.
I used to go visit my grandparents down there, and she would take me to Saints training camp and all that stuff. She was a big fan, my grandmother. So, once you get it in your blood, once you get that itch of that one team, it's hard, man. Once you're a fan of somebody, it's difficult to turn that off and go root for somebody else.
Yeah, and if you do too, you're considered a bandwagon jumper because you're not a real fan. If you're willing to change your team that you've rooted for since you're a kid, now you're changing teams, you're not a real fan. At least that's in the mind of a lot of sports
fans. You're not
fans.
a real fan.
I mean, you got your Super Bowl, you got your Super Bowl, but it's been how would you explain the last couple of years of being a Saints fan? Would you say it's been like agony? It's been like what word would describe being a Saints fan the last couple of years?
It's not like being a Jets fan.
Well, no, it's yeah.
The biggest problem is this: when you know your team has the talent and the ability to win a Super Bowl, and you lose in the fashion that they lost the last couple of years, it's tough. But last year they got beat. They did it to themselves. You can't blame it on a referee call. You can't blame it on a freak play. They just got outplayed last year. When it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That's how I look at it. I think they got a good opportunity this year to do something positive and, go deep. And I think they're as good as anybody in the league. So, hopefully we have a football season and hopefully they can go out there and show, their talent and make me happy. And maybe if there's a Super Bowl that has fans at it, maybe I'll go to it.
Is this Breeze's final year, you think?
It's hard to say. Before COVID, I would have said yes, but now I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see who gets it. Let's see if Breeze gets sick. Let's see how, if he gets injured again. If he's not going to go out on anybody else's terms but his own. We know that for a fact. As long as he's still the most accurate quarterback in the league, and he's as talented and efficient as he is right now, I don't see why he can't keep playing.
And if let's not be negative on Drew Brees, whatever. But if not, you got Mr. 30 for 30 coming off the bench.
Well, I think you're going to see you got a better chance of seeing Taysom Hill than you do Jameis Winston.
I think it's good though for Jameis to go and learn under Drew Brees.
Oh, I would listen. If Jameis Winston, he's a young, talented quarterback. If he can get his mind right and clean up some of those bad plays, he's in the right place.
Yeah.
If he can do that, he has a chance to be a very, very good quarterback. The guy led the league in yardage last year. He's no slouch.
And interceptions.
I'd still rather have Jameis Winston than like Dak Prescott or a couple of these other guys that are highly touted. I think Winston's got a chance to be as good or better than most of those guys.
Well, it's definitely a scenario where he's going to be under a good learning tree under Drew Brees, and if you obviously can't turn around or put it together after something like that, then I don't care how talented you are, it's not going to happen, in my opinion, though. Gut feeling, though, you feel from a fan standpoint, you said we got baseball back, we've got basketball back now, hockey's coming back this weekend. Do you feel the NFL is going to open up like normal, or are you preparing yourself for a late start for the NFL season?
I'm preparing for a late start. They already eliminated the preseason. Luckily, there hasn't been a ton of cases, but you got a lot of these guys opting out, for whatever reason it is, for their health or for their, the worry of their families. You're going to see some more big names opt out, I'm sure, before the deadline. All you need is one team to get pounded with some COVID like the Marlins did. Once that happens, you're going to see delays. It's unquestionable that you're going to see delays if that happens. So you just got to hope that these guys, they're not in a bubble. They're out in public. you got guys living in Florida, you got guys living in Texas, Louisiana, these hot spots where if they don't pay attention, if they don't do the right thing, if they're going to the gym without their mask, if they're not washing their hands, if they're going to bars and doing whatever it is that they want to do, all you need is one guy to get it in that locker room and spread it like wildfire, and you're going to get delayed. Let's just hope these guys are smart enough to avoid that, and we have a full season.
Hey, listen, man, the big deal, Craig Steele giving us a few minutes here on the High Spot Podcast, a relaunch show. And listen, I may never go to Atlanta and try Magic City Wings, but I would love to try the Taboo Men's Club chicken wings. If you're saying it's that good, I know me and the Trendsetter went there once, and we were very impressed, Craig, with your establishment. But I think
I went there more than once.
Oh, you did?
I've been there more than once.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I only went that one time, and I was very impressed, Craig. And I will definitely try those chicken wings out, man, and I will let you know when we go.
Gentlemen, Friday night, I'm going to give a little plug. Friday night, we have Dunk the Bartender and Entertainer Night. We have a dunk tank, where our lovely bartenders and entertainers will be in skimpy bikinis, and you can throw some balls at the target and possibly dunk one of our lovely ladies. We'll be doing that tomorrow night. If it works out, we'll probably do that again. We're trying to get a little bit more creative to get some pretty girls in situations that you'd want to see. Taboo Men's Club in Linden, New Jersey. Dunk the Bartender and Entertainer, Friday night at Taboo.
Nothing speaks more wholesome fun than Taboo Men's Club, honestly.
And a dunk tank. Come on now. You got to go there.
In summer? Woof. Nice. I'm down there. I'm RSVPing.
Craig, man.
Come on down, guys. You'll enjoy it.
Craig, much appreciated. We'll check it down there definitely before the summer ends, though. But you got dunk tanks. You're being very creative, man. And, again, appreciate what you do, man. And, good luck when you get back into the ring. And we'll definitely have you back on, man. We'll talk some sports, talk some when maybe the NFL season starts. We can you guys can be a tag team on me on my Jets. You never know. So
well, definitely, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Anytime. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
All right, man. Take care, Craig.
Pleasure's all ours, Craig. Take care, man.
It. All right, Trendsetter, again, thanks goes out to Craig Steele. Fun little interview there we had with him. Of course, Wrestle Pro returns to Alaska on September 19th. They'll have a union show on August 22nd. Remember, tickets are limited, so you want to go out there and get them at WrestlePro.com. So, I mean, Trendsetter, it's been tough on all of us, the whole situation, and wrestling has always been there. At least they haven't taken any weeks off since this whole situation, and since we're relaunching.
Well, from the show we have, but not from our normal day.
We have,
yeah.
but they've kept going. They've put their best foot forward, and they've it started out with no fans, which is tough WrestleMania to watch, man. It was tough to see, a WrestleMania with no fans. Some of the people like Drew McIntyre that didn't get their WrestleMania moment, in front of all those fans, where it would have been really cool. We didn't see Taker in his final WrestleMania, if it was his final WrestleMania, to get that adulation from the audience, but we got to see a Boneyard match, which was something like we've never seen before, and it got high praise. So AEW has done a great job. They've been so innovative. They've been really, it's really been fun to cover. So, I mean, if there's one story that we're talking about here in each company, let's even talk about Impact, because they've made a couple of big signings the last few weeks. What's the one thing since we've gotten back here that you've noticed about WWE that, I got to get on this show and I got to talk about it here. I got to open up this relaunch here on HSP and talk about it.
I don't think we have enough time to talk about
That's
that.
what I'm saying. That's why I said one thing.
I think for me, the biggest thing that stood out was the mere fact that, due to the scenario and the situation that we're in, you don't have a lot of the main roster on your shows, whether it be Raw or SmackDown or NXT, which, I don't think it affects NXT as much because they do have a lot of their roster that live in the area, and so where the Performance Center is located, so I don't think it really affects them. But to me, I wanted to speak more about it because for me, for the first time in a really long time, you had the opportunity to introduce newer stars, newer talent. And from my standpoint, and we've been watching it, we never stopped watching it too, and I try to put a positive spin on things. I really try to do. I don't try to really be negative and downgrade things and really say, oh, this sucks and this is terrible. But I have been really disappointed to an extent And I'm not talking about the reinventions of certain characters that have been in the spotlight for a while now. I'm talking about introducing newer talent and giving them that ability and that platform to shine. I really think WWE has really missed the ball on that because, you had a scenario where you don't have the ability of using the likes of, for example, let's say Roman Reigns. I know people have mixed feelings on Roman Reigns, but he's a bona fide star. He's the face of the company, and you can't have him on your show because he's chosen to, quarantine himself and take care of himself, health wise for himself and his family. Can't blame and fault the guy on that. But where are the other stars? You have a locker room full of talent that you've acquired throughout the years, and this is prior to them letting go of a lot of people, and that's why we had a lot of major signings for situations like Impact and AEW. But, come on, you have a 3-hour show, you have a 2-hour show, you have a limited roster available to you now, you still have a good amount of roster left. You can't find a way of making it that we're invested in these guys and we can make these guys now into newer stars, because you only benefit yourself if you do. It really feels to be lackadaisical in that end. So to me, that's one of the biggest talking points when it comes to WWE programming. Now, if we talk about Impact, though, Impact's been amazing because they've kind of worked in the scenario of not just prior to this whole pandemic, of really trying to reinvent themselves. And what I mean by that's back from the TNA days, and especially the Dixie Carter era, they're trying really hard to re-identify themselves with the audience. Say, hey, listen, we're not that anymore. We're not Global Force. We're not TNA. We are Impact now. So although it's packaged kind of the same way, it's a completely different type of show and completely different type of brand. So that's one thing that's positive in terms of what Impact's been doing this whole point in terms of a talking point. And then for the NXT AEW, people talk about the Wednesday Night Wars and the ability of both shows competing against each other and seeing how AEW has come from not too long ago. We were attending All Out in Chicago, Illinois. An amazing time, amazing experience. The inception of AEW came from that, and here we are now where they are, where they've established, where they've developed their own identity. And NXT now taken to the new level because now they're not from Full Sail taped. They are live on a 2-hour show on the USA Network. So a lot of things have changed.
Yeah, and for me, for WWE, it's Vince McMahon and just, the continuation of, him putting his beliefs first and foremost, not letting guys like Bruce Pritchard, well, we're not actually allowing Bruce Pritchard to now have full control of Raw and SmackDown, but not letting guys like Paul Heyman complete what they started. Now, so many stories of Paul Heyman.
More importantly, Eric Bischoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and if you want to hear a great podcast, the Eric Bischoff one on 83 Weeks is tremendous because it goes in depth of just his whole how it came to be that he took the job and how he left. So definitely check that one out too. There's a plug there, Conrad. Like, you don't need any more plugs, but
no, he doesn't.
But the whole Paul Heyman thing and how it ended again was kind of like the end to maybe a failed idea, a failed experiment. And Vince McMahon continuing to push veterans because he thinks that that's what's going to, turn the needle forward for more ratings. And it's just been, to me, it's like, you're trying to put a Band-Aid on this huge flood. And the thing is, you don't have John Cena. You don't have Roman Reigns right now. You're trying to build stars. And when you go to AEW, so let's move on to AEW, they're building stars. Yes, there was a whole, release of WWE superstars due to the pandemic, which was sad too, and I would have put that as my number 2 headline for WWE. And that is, it's always going to be Vince number 1, you know what I mean? It's always going to be Vince and what he does and stuff. And then you go to AEW and you see them making stars. And yes, they've signed a lot of WWE guys like Brody Lee and Matt Cardona and, Jon Moxley is their champion, right? You want to, put that there. But they're establishing stars because you're building a company with Orange Cassidy. Jungle Boy, we talked about this. He's a future star in the making. MJF just delivered a monumental promo. If you don't believe me, go back there and check it out. It's there. Very well done. And definitely here's a guy that's been on the sidelines. And finally now, hopefully, we get to see a Moxley versus MJF battle at All Out. And then you go to Impact Wrestling, where, it's time that they open up the checkbook. And they had an issue with Tessa Blanchard, and you question whether it was the right move to have a woman be your heavyweight champion. Not because she was a woman, but just because all the baggage that came with Tessa. Let's be honest, man. Like, all those stuff that happened, everyone speaking out, whether true or not. I mean, you decided to put a title on her knowing that she had this baggage. And then you have the whole COVID situation, and she doesn't want to travel up to any of the tapings, or supposedly doesn't want to do any of the promos and send it over. And so you have a whole situation where you put your heavyweight title on somebody that's not going to give you the 100%. Now, we haven't heard from Tessa Blanchard and her side of the story. But, her reputation in this business is what it is. So you're going to, right now take Impact Wrestling for what it's worth. But they opened up the checkbooks. They signed Gallows and Anderson. They signed Heath Slater, EC3, right? Those guys are in the mix. Kurt Hawkins is there. So now you need to use those stars to build those other stars that they have there by taking those established stars, not like jobbing them out, but like helping build that Impact roster to what it needs to be. And the same thing is going on for AEW. They're trying to make stars, and so is Impact Wrestling. And WWE is just giving you the same stuff, recycling the same stuff. And it sucks to say, because they need to do like they did in the Ruthless Aggression era. I mean, take a hit on the ratings and stuff like that, but make the stars. And if you're gonna have a roster where you have a split roster on Raw and SmackDown, it's not going to work. Because SmackDown, honestly, you think Fox really actually is getting their money's worth right now? I don't think so. So to me, those are the highlights of this whole time that we've been away, and just watching it from afar and observing this and coming on here today, Trendsetter, and being able to talk about what's going on, because we're relaunching HSP today, and it's just something that we're going to talk to in the future weeks to come. And as we plan ahead and move into the whole video platform, and we move from audio to visual stuff, whatever like that, I mean, it's something that is going to be really, at least as far as this year goes, it's going to be something we're going to be talking about every week.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about it every week. I mean, the idea never changes from what the High Spot Podcast's first inception was to where it is now and where we hope to take it in the future. But the main thing, too, is in terms of, you were just talking, I just want to really quickly piggyback off what you were saying. Yeah, in this scenario, too, you're talking about the ratings and the scenario. I mean, more than anything, Jeff, you have more of an opportunity, in at least my viewpoint, you have more of an opportunity now to take risks, because you're theoretically not competing with anybody. I know sports are coming back now, and I guess that's the scenario where you theoretically could be competing with just the likes of baseball, basketball, hockey. Football will be coming down the road, believe it or not. It'll be fall soon. I mean, you have the ability now of taking risks, taking chances, because your audience right now is focused squarely on you, and it just doesn't seem like they want to pull that trigger. But, that's the frustrating aspect of what we're covering. That's the frustrating aspect of what we have in terms of, at the end of the day, Jeff and I are fans. And that's what we plan on covering down the road and continually doing it now. It's not going to be the way it once was before. We like to think it's going to be for the better in terms of what Jeff and I hope to provide you guys, the members of the crew that have been watching this show and listening to the show from day one. We greatly appreciate it, to where we hope to take it down the road. But again, when you look at things like going down to conventions, WrestleCons, and scenarios where I've done with adventures with the Trendsetter, who knows if that will continue again? It might completely change 180 degrees, but at the same time, we're going to do our best to make sure we present the entertaining aspect of it, whether it be Zoom interviews, whether it be a lot more virtual things where we're going to be wearing masks down the road. Who knows? That's going to be maybe more of a normal thing. So we're going to try our best to bring that to you guys, because, that's always been our huge commitment. We talk about a labor of love. We love doing this labor.
We love being in labor. We love this labor. Trust me, man. We bust our ass trying to give you guys the very best. So definitely, tune in, because we got great stuff coming up for you guys down the road too. Man, Trendsetter, we are in SummerSlam season, all out season. Man, can you believe last year we were in Chicago? We were taking our pictures in front of the Bean in Chicago, the world famous Bean that they say in Chicago, enjoying wrestling, enjoying that atmosphere, right? Yeah. And now you take things for granted, I guess, and now it's going to be probably in Jacksonville, I guess, and it's what a difference a year makes, though. What a difference a year makes. And again, you either evolve or you get left behind, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to choose to go forward because, we see other, let's be honest, man. And this is something that we're going to do a lot more off the cuff, maybe shoot a little bit and not hold back on stuff, man. There's a lot of shitty podcasts. There's a lot of crappy things that are doing, good at stuff that we're like scratching our heads and we're like, we got to be real here and we got to do this our way and we got to finally like take the reins off, no pun intended there, and just really to give you guys something that you guys are going to enjoy, Trendsetter. But, man, we got SummerSlam. We've got All Out coming up. Are you excited about Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton?
Oh, yeah. Because,
Can
that's
it be something good?
Can it be something good? Yes. Will it be something good? Depends on who you're talking about. Could it be something good for Randy Orton, who's kind of reinvigorated himself in terms of, some guy who you've been talking about has been mailing it in for a long period of time, now seems to have everybody's interest. Everybody's talking about Randy Orton, the untapped potential that seems to be oozing out of him now, on the likes of what he's done, especially with his matches with Edge, and the likelihood now that he's going to be facing Drew McIntyre, a guy who's had a great story coming up, the huge ovation, the huge reaction he got at the Royal Rumble.
But
now,
he hasn't had the great matches.
Yes, the two pitted against each other. Huge for Drew McIntyre. Again, this could just only solidify the Hall of Fame status of what Randy Orton is in the WWE.
But like you said, though, it's been a great story, a great journey that's culminated with him becoming the champ at WrestleMania. But again, it's been, where have the great matches been? Where have those quality opponents been for Drew McIntyre? And you can break apart or dissect who he's actually beaten and who the guys have been. And so this is probably his biggest test at SummerSlam. And we all know the dirt sheets, and they're saying that, this is a win for Randy Orton so that he can eventually have his match, his rematch against Edge. But there's no guarantee that Edge is going to be ready anytime soon. It's it's a tough injury to come back from. And he's he's not a spring chicken, so it might take a little bit longer for him to recover. But with these wrestlers here, they really heal fast. But could he heal in time for a WrestleMania match, an I Quit match maybe against Randy Orton? And again, WWE's fascination with having 3 matches here to have a finality with this for some reason, is something that again it's a head scratcher why they have to do it. I wasn't really a big fan of was the greatest match ever, and I wasn't really a big fan of their match at WrestleMania. It was okay, but nothing that I was like, well, But again, it's different times, man. You don't know if it would have been better if there was an audience. You don't know if that was going to be the case. So they are in their SummerSlam mode. Sasha Banks is the Raw Women's Champion. Bayley is killing it alongside Sasha now. They have all the women's gold. That's something that's been shocking to Trendsetter. They've actually, to me, really improved a lot. And, they're getting their due, man. They're on every freaking show possible.
Yeah, and for good reason, too, because like you mentioned before, they have been the ones that have been the most consistent. Talk about whatever you want to say. They breed entertainment, where they entertain that you want to see Bayley and Sasha get the living hell kicked out of them.
Did you say
defeated.
They breed entertainment?
Yeah,
they breathe
entertainment.
Oh, they breathe entertainment.
They breathe entertainment. And so, again, that's just one of the downfalls.
It's my hearing. I'm old.
Mm-hmm. And, well, yeah, you definitely are. But this is what you get in terms of it's valid, because right now the main topics of what you get consistently on a day-to-day basis, on a show-to-show basis, it's Bayley and Sasha right now.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking about the NXT war with AEW. I don't know, man. And the whole thing.
A lot of people are calling it a war. I don't see it as a war. I really don't. It's different from the Monday Night era, where the Monday Night War is when we have to deal with shows competing one-on-one against each other and trying to overtop each other. I'm not saying that's not happening now, but the day and age where Jeff and I, guys, back in the days where we'd flip through channels back and forth, catch a little bit of Raw, catch a little bit of Nitro. We're taping Raw on VHS. It's look it up, Google it, and then we're watching the end of Nitro to see what happens, to compare the two shows, both airing at different times. One's starting a little bit earlier, one's ending earlier, one's ending later. So you have that excitement of the ability of both competing against each other. I think nowadays I don't know if a lot of things are watched live like that again. You can DVR stuff. You can watch things. You can stream things. If you missed something 2 days ago, you can quickly pull it up on your phone. I don't think the necessity of sitting in front of your TV screen now is valid anymore, because people don't have to. You can just put up your phone and check out the highlights or check out what you missed, and that's basically it.
Plus, NXT really has not given me anything. I mean, they have good matches, but they really haven't made me they haven't given me a reason to flip that channel to USA. It starts. I know that it starts when I tune in there on Wednesdays. It starts with AEW, and I have had no reason, because now they do the little box thing now where you can still see the wrestling action, see the commercial, right? Which you can be a fan of or not, whatever, but still.
You're not a fan of it.
You don't have to flip it. But that was WWE's idea. I believe that was their idea. But now you don't have to flip. And so there's really no reason. I love Keith Lee. I'm happy for him. But I don't get the urge to switch over to NXT. Right now, AEW is captivating me enough that I want to stay on there. And then, of course, now Le Champion Chris Jericho comes out with, hey, it's not about the rating. It's about the demographic, the demo. And that's why he is the demo god, because it's the 18 to 49. And, I'm old school. And, that's just how I am. I always thought that the ratings were the ratings and not the demo. The key demo is 18 to 49. So, how do you go about judging who wins the ratings war? So it's not a ratings war, it's a demo war, right?
Yeah, it basically is. And it depends on the fact of the perspective you're looking at it, too, because you can win theoretically in the general ratings, but if you're winning the demographic now, that's considered a victory. So a lot different from the Monday Night Wars. I don't consider this a war. I consider really more of a gift for all of us, because back in the days of watching WCW and WWE or WWF at the time, you really had only those two to watch. I mean, there were still companies that existed during that era, but we had no idea what they were. Now with the ability of social media, the ability of all these platforms of streaming where we can now see more content. What I'm talking about is Ring of Honor, Impact, MLW, watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. And these are just a few of the promotions that are doing great works out there and now trying to get back into work with this whole but during this whole COVID pandemic of trying now to, we see New Japan doing shows right now with no audience members in there or very limited capacity. Impact doing shows with nobody in the audience as well. Ring of Honor, who knows, maybe it's a matter of time before they start doing something to that extent. It's just, it's a benefit for the fan. The fan wins in all this now. It's not necessarily you're a WCW guy, you're a WWE guy. Are you an AEW guy or an NXT guy? I'm really just a fan, and I'm getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, man, and then, of course, New Japan is back, too, with their shows. So, things are getting back to normal a little bit, and let's keep our fingers crossed at all the sports here. You got stuff with the Marlins as well. That's, not good news for MLB, but, so far the bubble, the NHL is A-OK. And football, when it does come back, like we talked about with Craig Steele, you hope that there's really not a chance that the season gets canceled or it starts late. You want everything to go forward.
You know what? I think the likelihood of NFL and, in this case, Major League Baseball, they have higher risks of probabilities of shutting down or being extremely delayed.
Yeah.
Just because when you look at NBA and NHL, they're somewhat isolated themselves. They're in a particular area, and that's
bubble,
it.
Man.
That's it. I don't like using the word bubble 100 times. Your hashtag bubble HSP, basically, right? But no, they're isolated. So when you deal with the fact that, and this is what surprises me the most, Jeff, and I've talked this about you several times, I find it amazing that the way MLB came, and I thought they came out with a pretty good idea in terms of keeping everything regional, of keeping everything close together, so travel distances wouldn't be that far because they didn't want to isolate everybody into one section. Okay, if you don't want to do that, then keep everything local or close by. I'm surprised the NFL hasn't even come up with this idea. They seem like they're completely waiting until last minute. Only last minute did they say, listen, we're not going to do any preseason games. Before it's like, we're only going to do 3. On second thought, no, we won't do any preseason games. Players were on Twitter saying, what's going on? We don't know anything about testing. What's going to happen if somebody tests positive? What's the protocol for that? What do we do here in this scenario, in that scenario? No answers. I find it amazing they haven't considered even trying to redo the whole ranking system to all the leagues, because right now it just makes sense to try to keep things regional, because if you have a team from New York going to Los Angeles and back from Los Angeles going to New England, Florida, going to Denver, you're going to these potential hotspots or in these scenarios where the likelihood of getting COVID or passing around the league gets increasingly high. So I find that really surprising. The NFL has really not done their job.
Well, we'll see. We're gonna see. I mean, because
what do you
think?
Do you kind of agree with me here or no?
Oh, I think they've been lax about it. I think they've had all this time looking at what the NBA is gonna do, what MLB has done.
Would that be a good idea though? Regionalizing it?
Yeah, I really do. I really think it's just that they don't really want to, move their season around, thinking that they can beat this thing somehow, but I don't understand.
I think it's kind of naive from the NFL to think that they could just do this, a 17 or 18-week season, and have Thursday Night Football week 1 of the NFL, and nothing's going to happen.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Definitely. It's just it's naive for them to do that. And so as we get back here and as we, get ready to have our relaunch and be consecutive here with the show and bring you guys a weekly show again, it's just great, man. It's great to be back. And, like I said, I sound like a broken record, but I'm pretty sure, a while back we said that we're going to just be ourselves. We're going to be off the cuff. We're going to do all this stuff. And, and it's time that we do that. And I think it's time that you see who we are and who we're going to present to you guys. And then once we get the video going up and stuff like that, and we get more stuff that's going to pop and stuff that you're going to like, definitely, because it's just, just funny to me. You see out there so many ways that wrestling is available to you. We want to give it to you in a different way, but we want to definitely keep you guys entertained. So Trendsetter, successful first episode here. And listen, we want to thank Body Slam Net for their patience as well. Look forward to get back there.
We appreciate you, Cassidy.
Cassidy, the boss man. You're so patient with us, so we really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you guys. The reason why we do this, which is you guys, the members of the crew, listen to this. The High Spot Podcast, HSP, back in action, and we'll be back again next week. So for my tag team partner, Jeff Martin, Scoundrel, I'm the Trendsetter, Brian Brega. Thanking you guys so much for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching and sticking with us during this whole crisis and pandemic, and we will not let you down, I promise you that. And dare I say it, that throughout this whole crisis, pandemic, whole situation that we've all been dealing with, if you haven't figured it out and don't remember, don't get me wrong, I'm going to make you remember. I'm going to remind you every single week till you're blue in the face and you can't take it anymore. You know what? Because if you've forgotten it, shame on you. You're not a true member of the crew, because we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. And wear a mask.